All right, so today we're diving into the world of fashion. Well, not exactly the runway kind. We're
Right.
going behind the scenes, like the logistics side. We're
Yeah.
talking about the clothing and footwear distribution manager.
Oh.
You sent over a ton of info from RoleCatcher.
Yeah.
It seems like a really great resource for anyone who wants to learn about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a career path that most people don't really think about,
Yeah.
but it's super important.
So let's break it down. Like, how would a clothing and footwear distribution manager at a party describe their job, without putting us to sleep?
Well, they're kind of like the maestro of the supply chain
Yeah.
for clothing and footwear. So
Yeah.
they're the ones who make sure everything goes smoothly from the factory all the way to the store.
So they're juggling like inventory and sales data and making sure that everyone's favorite brands are always in stock.
Exactly. They have to be on top of new trends and figure out what people want before they even know they want it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fashion world, as you know, is constantly changing.
For sure. And speaking of changing, the stuff from RoleCatcher about daily tasks makes the job sound pretty intense. Like tight deadlines, pressure to meet sales targets.
Wow.
It seems like you need to be a certain type of person to handle that every day.
Oh, definitely. It's like you're not just keeping up with the latest fashion trends, but you're also like really digging into data and negotiating with suppliers. And you even have to stay ahead of the curve on stuff like using AI to predict what people are going to want.
Whoa, AI.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a part of it. That's so cool. So it's not just spreadsheets and making phone calls anymore.
Well, not at all. You got to have fashion sense, of course, but you also need to know technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like e-commerce has totally changed how distribution works. So a successful distribution manager has to be good with data, know the software.
So it's like not just knowing what's hot on the runway, but also how algorithms get those clothes into people's hands.
Yeah,
That's wild. It sounds like you need to be creative and analytical.
exactly. Adaptable, innovative, always thinking ahead.
So knowing all that, I bet some people are thinking, is this the right job for me?
Right.
Because it has its pros and cons. Like on the one hand, you can make good money.
Yeah.
It's a fast-paced environment, and you can really make a difference in a global industry, but it's probably not always glamorous.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of pressure, and you constantly have to be learning and adapting as the industry changes.
That's the truth.
So it's not all sunshine and runway shows then.
Right.
There's some serious work involved. Speaking of, let's get into the skills you need to really make it in this job.
Okay.
RoleCatcher gets into a lot of detail. Like they even rank the skills in order of importance.
Yeah, they really break it down. Some of them you would probably expect, for this type of job,
Right.
but some of them might surprise you.
Oh, I love surprises.
Okay.
Okay, so like what should people be good at if they want to impress when applying for these jobs?
So critical thinking is a big one. It's actually at the top of the list.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have to make tough decisions all the time. And you have to be able to think fast to keep everything moving.
Yeah, you don't want to be the reason a warehouse is full of out-of-season clothes.
Right.
Okay, what else?
Negotiation skills are super important.
Okay,
You're always working with suppliers, distributors. Everyone wants a good deal.
of course.
And you're the one who has to make everyone happy.
Like a diplomat.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you got to keep those relationships strong. Okay, so we've got strategic thinking, negotiation skills.
This is sounding more and more intense.
Right. Okay, how about this? You also need a really good understanding of transportation logistics.
Really? I wouldn't have thought of that.
Oh, yeah. So you need to know about cargo ships, delivery routes, all that stuff.
Wow. So it's not enough to just know fashion. You have to be like a logistics expert too.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You have to figure out the most efficient and cost-effective way to get those products to the customers. So like air freight versus sea freight, the best routes, when things will get delivered, it's a lot to keep track of.
That's wild. Okay, so for anyone listening who's thinking, this all sounds pretty overwhelming, how do I even learn all this stuff? Because RoleCatcher had some advice, right?
Yeah, they did. They had a whole section on it. And basically, you need experience.
Okay.
So that can be like working in retail,
Yeah.
just to get a sense of how things work from the customer's point of view.
Okay.
Or maybe even an internship in a distribution center.
So you're saying that hands-on experience is more important than just reading about it?
It's not that simple. Practical experience is great, but you also need to stay updated.
What do you mean?
Like e-commerce is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
There are all these new technologies like RFID tagging. You have to know what's going on. And of course, you need to keep up with changes in what customers want.
So basically you never stop learning in this job.
Pretty much.
Which I guess makes sense because, like we were saying, fashion changes so quickly.
It's true. You always have to be ready for something new.
Speaking of new, let's talk about moving up in your career. Like, how do you go from just starting out to being in charge?
Yeah. RoleCatcher lays out a typical career path. It's pretty
Oh,
interesting. So you start out as an entry-level distribution assistant. That's where you learn the basics,
okay.
like packing, shipping, monitoring inventory. You're basically in the heart of the distribution center, seeing how everything works.
That's cool. So what's the next step?
From there, you might become a warehouse supervisor.
Okay.
So now you're the one in charge of a team. You make sure the merchandise is flowing smoothly throughout the warehouse and that everything is running efficiently. It's a good stepping stone to bigger roles.
Okay, so you're the warehouse supervisor now, calling the shots. What's next?
Well, then you might move up to distribution coordinator.
Okay.
So you're not just working in the warehouse anymore.
Right?
It's more about strategy,
Hmm.
like planning shipments, working with suppliers, looking at data to make the whole distribution process better.
So less about the actual stuff and more about the big picture. Gotcha. Okay, so from there, I'm guessing it's the top spot, the distribution manager.
That's right. That's where everything we've been talking about comes together.
Okay.
You're leading the team, coming up with the overall strategy, making sure everything runs smoothly from start to finish.
Wow. So it really is a journey.
It is,
From just starting out to being in charge of everything, it shows that you can really move up in this industry if you put in the work.
for sure. And learn all the things. Because this industry is constantly changing, like we were saying. So you always have to be learning and adapting.
That's true. Okay, so let's say someone is listening to this and thinking, I want that job. I want to be a distribution manager. What should they expect in the interview? Because RoleCatcher had a whole thing about interview questions, right?
Yeah, there's some really good ones, like
Yeah.
not the usual questions you always hear.
Yeah.
These are more, see if you really understand what it takes.
Okay, so give us an example. Like, what's a question they might ask? That would really test someone.
Well, one is, how do you stay on top of all the new technology and trends in distribution?
Okay.
Because it's not enough to just know the basics. You have to show them you're always learning, interested in new things, that kind of stuff.
So they want to see that you're passionate.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, what else?
Another good one is, how do you balance meeting customer needs with keeping costs down? Which is a tough one.
Right, because you want to keep everyone happy.
Exactly.
You can't just spend a ton of money either.
Right, you have to be strategic.
Okay, last question. Hit me with a curveball.
Okay, how about this? What made you want to work in clothing and footwear distribution in the first place?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it seems simple, but you really have to think about it.
Because they want to know what motivates you.
Exactly. Are you just looking for a job? Or are you passionate about this industry? That's what they want to know.
I like it. Okay, so we've covered a lot, the ins and outs of being a clothing and footwear distribution manager.
We have.
We talked about the skills you need, what the job is like, the career path. It's been pretty eye-opening.
It's definitely a career path worth considering.
And, we've mostly focused on the skills and qualifications and like the day-to-day stuff,
Right.
but there's more to it than that, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about what you know. It's also about, like, your personality.
How so?
Well, think about it. This is a fast-paced industry. Things are always changing. You need to be able to handle stress, be flexible, think on your feet. Those qualities are just as important as anything else.
So it's not enough to just have the skills on paper. You have to be able to roll with the punches.
Exactly.
So for anyone listening, if you're thinking about this career path, ask yourself, do I have what it takes? Not just the skills, but the personality.
Right. It's about finding the right fit for you.
And on that note, if this deep dive has sparked your interest, do some more research. Check out RoleCatcher's website, see if you can shadow someone in the industry. It's all about exploring and finding the career that's right for you. And who knows, maybe clothing and footwear distribution is your calling. You could be the one making sure everyone has the perfect outfit for every occasion. Behind the scenes, of course.
The unsung hero of fashion.
That's a good way to put it.